Today we're going to be using the newly reworked Foetracer. If you're in the know, then you'll know that Foetracer's old perk of buffing damage to low health targets and the visual marking of targets was moved to Knucklehead Radar. Foetracer was reworked to have an entirely new gameplay loop as its exotic trait, similar to monochromatic Maestro. On this new design, damaging an enemy with an ability will give us for 10 seconds a 25% damage boost that matches our subclass. Then, defeating any target with the weapon damage of our subclass generates an elemental pickup, Void Breach, Fire Sprite, Tangle, or Ionic Trace, depending on your respective subclass. But with our build, we're going to be combining two things together that are going to allow us to keep suspending enemies, and while we're suspending enemies, we'll have a free 25% weapon damage bonus for 10 seconds. With Thread Runner subclass, we can use the aspect Whittle Silk to give ourselves 2 grenade charges. The grenades we'll be using are the Shackle Grenade, and although the Shackle Grenade was recently nerfed, by having 2 grenades and building into our mods and fragments, we'll still have very good and even high uptime on the suspend from our Shackle Grenades. So every time we suspend a target, we're getting a free 25% damage boost without having to use any surge mods on our legs. This frees us up to run grenade kickstart mods and use our armor charges to keep refunding our grenade energy. That allows us to repeat the suspension loop. We also have our melee Threaded Spike, which can provide that tier 4 weapon bonus while also severing the target, reducing their outgoing damage by 40%. If you time it right, you'll be able to get a huge chunk of your melee back by catching it when it's on its way back to you. Now, the second aspect we'll be using is the new aspect, Whirling Maelstrom. What Whirling Maelstrom does is it takes any tangles that you detonate by either being thrown or detonated through being shot into tracking, whirling AoE tornadoes. And if the target is still highlighted in red and is defeated with a weapon that matches your subclass, they should generate a tangle on their death, therefore allowing you to repeat this loop again. If your sentient tangle kills anything that isn't a powerful target, you should still have a chance to generate another tangle if they become unraveled through the damage of the sentient tangle, as defeating targets affected by strand debuffs will unwind them and create a tangle. And since these tornado tangles also unravel enemies, and unravel is a strand debuff, this should loop into itself and keep your tangle uptime very high. Another way that we'll be generating tangles is through the artifact mod Thanatotic Tangles. Strand weapon final blows will have a chance to generate a tangle. Also, we're going to be pairing this build with Quicksilver Storm, which can also generate tangles from any of its grenade launcher kills with its catalyst perk, Nano Entanglement. Another good thing about the Whirling Maelstrom aspect when paired with Foetracer is that if you do pick up a tangle and throw it at a powerful enemy, it will count as an ability and activate Foetracer's perk, and you'll see them become highlighted in red and the tier 4 weapon damage bonus will activate. While you're shooting that enemy with your tier 4 weapon damage bonus, the sentient tangle will also be helping you provide some extra damage, and that's going to aid in you defeating that target sooner. So with 2 Shackle Grenades, a melee, and any tangles we create and throw, we'll have 4 different ways to constantly loop this 25% bonus weapon damage. Now the 3 core fragments of the build would be Thread of Continuity for increased suspension, sever, and unravel effects, Thread of Generation to provide us with additional grenade ability energy from just dealing any damage, which the tangle should hopefully count towards, and also as using these grenade abilities is how we're going to loop our 25% bonus weapon damage from Foetracer. And lastly, we'll go with Thread of Warding to provide us Woven Mail on Orb Pickup for a 60% damage resistance, and it just makes sense to provide yourself some extra survivability for endgame content when you're collecting orbs, which everyone should be doing, so you can keep your armor charges, which will feed into Grenade Kickstart. The fourth fragment is a flex fragment. For a while, I was running Thread of Transmutation, but because you can only generate a tangle for the 10 seconds you have Woven Mail, and because you have a 10-second cooldown on creating tangles, and with so many ways to make tangles, it was just kind of overkill, and I decided to swap this around. Personally, I'm using Thread of Fury to test if the Maelstrom tangles will generate some melee energy for us in this build to add in more sever uptime against high health dangerous targets, while other good choices could include things like Thread of Isolation to sever targets through landing rapid precision shots, or you could go with something like the newly reworked Thread of Wisdom, which had the requirement of killing suspended targets with precision damage shots change to just killing suspended targets, but that is a 10-second cooldown. Does give a guaranteed orb of power that's going to give 2.5% super energy, but nonetheless, the choice is really yours there for that fourth and final fragment. Flex in what you feel works best. Feel free to experiment, test, or just go with what you usually run for your Strand builds. As for our other artifact mods, we're using Origin Perk Specialization 1, which buffs the damage of the Thanatotic Tracer rockets by 20%. Make sure you go ahead and grab Anti-Barrier Auto Rifle for Quicksilver Storm. And if it's Unstoppables, you can use Unstoppable Fusion, or later down on the artifact, you can go with Overload Machine Gun if it's content that matches accordingly for those champions. Next is going to be Elemental Fury. It's going to make it so that any champions you stun, which can happen through suspending them or just stunning them with the appropriate weapon, will then receive some increased ability damage as well as tangle damage. The Tornado Tangles should also benefit from this, but further testing would be needed to verify that. Now, an important pick that is a must-have is Communal Pickups. Any tangle that you create that an ally destroys or picks up will now reduce the cooldown for tangles for you to create a tangle by 5 seconds instead of the 10 seconds. And will also grant you a subclass matching weapon surge for 10 seconds. So they give you the benefit if a teammate accidentally steals or detonates one of your tangles, that you're going to be able to make one sooner, and they make up for it and compensate by giving you a weapon bonus. Now, since we'll also be picking up our tangles to throw them at powerful targets, which is going to activate Foetracer's tier 4 weapon bonus, we're going to use Refreshing Pickups. This is going to give us 25% ability energy to our least charged ability. This mod really just feeds into us having that high uptime on all of our abilities and helps allow us to have the Foetracer exotic perk available as well. In the last column, you can try Monochromatic Maestro, but it doesn't seem like it's working right now. I think it's bugged, or maybe it just doesn't play nice with Foetracer's exotic perk. I know that damaging with an ability would proc Foetracer's perk and override this artifact mod, as Foetracer gives the higher weapon bonus. But what I wanted to use this for is to damage with the matching weapon damage of my subclass, Quicksilver Storm, to then make my Tornado Tangles deal more damage, 10% increased damage for 5 seconds. But from my limited time testing with this mod, it doesn't seem to provide that buff for the Tornado Tangles. So instead, I would recommend Elemental Munitions. With Elemental Munitions, combatants killed with Tangles or Elemental Orbs will have a chance to spawn a special or heavy ammo brick. And the final artifact perk in the last column is going to be Rapid Fire Ranger. Rapid Fire Ranger will allow us to gain a 15% weaken debuff on high health targets. We just need to get some rapid precision hits against them by being 40 meters away. 40 meters may seem like a far distance, but Quicksilver is able to achieve this well enough. And if you have the option of a machine gun or linear fusion to achieve this same effect, it should happen faster, as it will require less precision shots to do because of the type of ammo that those take, the heavy ammo. So for mods, I'm just going to show the mods as a full suite here and just talk through them with a bit of gameplay footage in the corner of the screen. Make sure you're running Heavy Ammo Scout, because with Elemental Munitions and using a primary ammo exotic, we're going to generate a lot of heavy bricks. Then we're going to be running Impact Induction for a free 20% grenade ability on a powered melee hit. Then we run Momentum Transfer, free 20% melee energy when we deal damage with our grenades. But the most important mod on our arms is going to be Grenade Kickstart. If you can't fit one of the other ones, I would say ditch the Momentum Transfer. Make sure that you keep Impact Induction and Grenade Kickstart. We need to run this. Even though we have 2 grenade charges, suspension time was nerfed heavily on champions, and each time we throw a grenade, it can provide energy off of each grenade throw with Grenade Kickstart. On the chest, just make sure to have the appropriate resist mods, Concussive or Sniper, and have at least 1 elemental resist that matches the incoming threat. On legs, go with 1 copy of Stacks on Stacks. It's just superior to Elemental Charge, as making orbs is quite easy, and it's instantly 2 armor charges from just that 1 single orb. And then Invigoration and Recuperation, so we can get some extra health, and 10% of our grenade each time we collect these orbs, which are required to make full use of Grenade Kickstart. And the cloak is pretty basic stuff there. Just one copy of Reaper and Outreach to provide as 10% melee grenade on class ability usage. Then Reaper, so that on that class ability usage, the next weapon kill is going to be a guaranteed orb of power. That's it really for the build. It's honestly really flexible. It is versatile as well. It could be ran with other subclass elements like Solar, Arc, Void, or Stasis. Stasis would be interesting because of the extra melees for Foetracer's perk. But with the artifact mods the way that they are this season, it's most likely going to perform the best with Strand. That's the first Strand Hunter build for the channel. Glad to be able to break a new first for this channel. Go ahead and leave a comment and let me know your thoughts on this build and what other newly adjusted exotics you might want to see a build for next. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.